Hi everybody, it's Michelle and Chris again. To do our Q&A, we missed out Good Friday, I'm afraid, because we were having some family time.
We were sat in the sun.
Not today. No, today is an anomaly in the nice weather. So we thought we would start off by chatting about food.
And drinking.
So, what's your
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. What's your favourite food, Chris?
Chocolate.
Do you eat chocolate every day?
Yep.
Okay.
Especially working at home, seem to have chocolate after lunch every day.
Yeah, we are running out of chocolate as well on a regular basis, which is obviously very stressful.
Indeed.
What's your favourite meal?
I think, to be honest, it depends what mood I'm in, really. Not particularly fussy, so like lots of different things. Do like my pasta.
Yeah.
Do like our vegetarian version of spaghetti bolognese.
Yeah.
With pie lentils, that's a favourite.
Yeah, we're vegetarian. We switched to being vegetarian last summer, was it? I think so. Yeah, so we switched to being vegetarian last summer. A bit driven by our boys, actually. They were doing a lot of environmental stuff at school, and we'd kind of tinkered a little bit anyway. We weren't eating a lot of meat, so we just went vegetarian. So not vegan, just veggie. So but yeah, it's been good. I think we've enjoyed it. I'm not missing meat at all, really. We eat a little bit of fish sometimes, but
yeah. So like that, like risottos. Like curries as well. We've got some good vegetarian options for our curries now, haven't we?
Yeah.
Which we're going to have tonight, actually.
Yeah.
Aubergine and... Oh, no, we're having risotto tonight, aren't we?
I think so.
Yeah.
Risotto tonight. So, yeah, my choice, I'm rather fond of chocolate as well. A bit... Yeah, do like my chocolate. Also very fond of cake. Homemade cake.
Homemade.
Definitely homemade cake. Which, I love making as well. So, a bit of a baker. And I'm very like you. I just like my carbs, really. Anything that's carby. Not stodgy stuff, but pasta. And, and I'm quite fond of cheese as well. I do like my cheese. So, yeah.
But it's all pretty healthy food, isn't it? It's a good balanced diet. We don't really go on these fads of high fat, low carb and all that sort of stuff. So it's pretty well balanced. It's all pretty much home cooked from scratch.
Yeah. Plenty of it.
Plenty of it.
We do eat, there's no biting around the bush. We eat big mats, I suppose.
Not as much as Harry and Josh.
Not as much as our kids, but no. But yeah, it is all home cooked stuff. Massive amounts of vegetables.
Yeah.
Loads of vegetables. Probably a bit too much cheese, but no, we were just talking about that, Bev. We were just saying, I asked Chris what was his favourite thing, and he said chocolate, and I said cake. So there we are. We definitely like cake and chocolate.
There's nothing wrong with a few squares of dark chocolate, is there?
No, well, I've been munching loads of every single piece of chocolate getting my hands on this week, haven't I?
Well, it's been Easter, hasn't it?
Yeah. Any chocolate that was in the vicinity. Hi, Nikki. What's your favourite food, Nikki? You going to post?
So just while she's answering that, you said loads of vegetables, and I think that is important, particularly in the current climate of keeping our immune systems healthy. Yeah. Good balanced diet, and
just put carrot cake.
More cake and chocolate options there. Yeah.
What about favourite meals? Tell us your favourite meals in the messages. I have just made some more cakes too. Lush. So any favourite meals, that would be great. So we're going to talk a little bit about we've talked about general food, but what about food before training? And particularly at the moment, because I've had a lot of questions, because people are worried about their training and making sure that they do eat properly, I think. And obviously a lot of people have struggled to get the food, which has been an issue. But vegetables seem to be on the shelves, which is a really good thing. So it's making sure we eat properly before sessions, and after sessions, I think, is key. And we're going to talk about if you need to run first thing in the morning, what sort of food should you be taking in. Obviously, it's not ideal running first thing in the morning because you're unfueled, but there are things you can do if you need to do faster sessions as well.
I think sort of an hour steady is okay on unfueled, but if you, as you say, if you want to do anything with a bit of pace in it, or want to do longer, then I think particularly in the current climate, it's worth getting something in and making sure you're not impacting your immune system. Yeah. And Nikki's just put she likes to cook fresh and keep it healthy as possible. I think that's, you've got to just do what you can as well and get as much fresh stuff. It's really hard. I mean, you can get frozen veg. Some of that's been limited as well, but just try and find what you can that's good for you, as well as all the snacks. So just really think what you really need. John's favourite meal is the raw salad. I've had really every lunch for years. Yes, I do. Boring and repetitive as well. Same as in your training then as well, John. Yeah, that raw salad does sound a bit boring.
Yeah.
Must be an ultra runner.
John has been doing his training around the same field, but he's been getting in elevation, going around this field and going up through the middle diagonally. It's been amazing watching what he's been doing, getting his big elevation in, but really close to home. But we know how much John likes repetition. So, if you're going to train first thing in the morning, exactly. If you're going to train first thing in the morning, I think the key thing, as Chris said, easy runs up to kind of steady. So zone 1, zone 2 are totally fine to go unfueled. But obviously, in the current climate, just make sure as soon as you walk in the door, you get food on board. Don't fanny around looking after the kids for an hour or something like that. Just make sure you look after your body straight away. I think that's the really important thing.
Washing your hands first.
Wash your hands as soon as you walk in the door, and glasses and stuff like that, obviously, and then get some food in. I think that will be the best way to help your immune system at the moment, and normally as well, I think. If you have to do your speed work first thing in the morning, it certainly isn't the best time of day to do it, because if you're going to do speed work, you do need carbohydrate in your body, and the carbs that you had from your dinner last night have probably disappeared just from you sleeping. So you can, get in an extra snack just before you go to bed. And the thing that you're going to have to do is rely on things like gels. You can have a banana before you leave the house, neck a gel, and then take a gel with you. I mean, that's the best you can possibly do. You might find you feel a little bit empty, especially towards the end of the session. And after something like that, you're going to have to come in and eat really, really immediately, because those sorts of sessions you're going to be really depleted, and you can't hang around, not eating with that sort of session. So I think that's really, really, really important. And, even if you did it at lunchtime or, mid-morning, I would say exactly the same thing. You just need to get the fuel in.
Yeah.
So before training, try and get carbs in. After training, you want a mixture of carb and protein. I think that's the key thing.
So interestingly, we're talking about food, and we have our resident chef just joined us. Welcome, Sam.
Oh yeah, hi Sam.
Tell us your favourite food. I think, looking at one of your Facebook posts, I think it was a steak, but...
that might just be what he cooks in his restaurant.
That's true. So yeah, Sam, let us know what your favourite meal is.
Yeah, and anyone else who's watching, just post your favourite meals, because it's always really interesting. And, favourite treats as well, because we're all, as we posted at the beginning, we love our cake and chocolate as well. So, and beer and stuff. So it's everything in moderation, really. I think speed work, really, really important. Just make sure you don't train depleted for speed sessions. Just make sure you have enough in you. If you've eaten a little bit badly, and I've had a few people saying, they felt a bit down, they ate too many biscuits and some crisps. That's not great food for going and then nailing a speed session, for example. So, yes, have your treats, but time them. So time them around sessions. So if you're going to do a speed session, maybe eat really well. If you have to do it in the evening, then eat well during the day. Save your treats for, the day when you're doing an easy run, that sort of thing, or afterwards. I think that's the key thing. Bev says she does overnight oats with banana, and I think that's great, particularly, when a lot of us are working at home, but if you're frontline and you've got to get to work, get some oats, and you can soak them in water or milk overnight, or almond milk, or apple juice, orange juice, anything like that. It's a great way, and you can stick in some frozen fruit as well. It's a really, really good option. Everything in moderation except pizza. Yeah, John. I think Ben had a really good trough on some pizza on Wednesday night. Didn't have a great session because he had a bit too much wine as well. But yeah, it's just, that's the way it is at the minute. I think just, if you're not feeling up to doing your speed work as well at the moment, then just put it off for a day. I think there's a lot of people who have been a little bit upset with themselves because, there's a session set and they've not felt in the mood. I think really importantly, just do what you want to do on a certain day. If you feel the next day like, I'm up for it today, and you feel fueled, then that's the day to go for it. And then obviously, if you are coached by someone, if it's us, then obviously we'll shuffle stuff around. Just mix your training around at the minute to fit everyone's having down days, everyone's having really stressy days. So just fit the training in around those days, I think. And if you've had a really bad night's sleep as well, we talked about sleep the previous time. Obviously, sleep is really essential. So if you've had a really bad night's sleep, again, you're not going to feel great the next day. So go on, you can read that. Okay,
yeah. Our resident chef has replied for his...
Red Bev's above.
Oh, right, okay. Rich likes cheesy chorizo chicken from Bev's...
when we were meat eaters, we probably like something like that.
Yes, and our resident chef who works at the steakhouse, definitely steak is his favourite meal.
Okay.
Sirloin steak at work with salad and some pasta. My favourite treat, though, comes back to pizza.
Pizza, yeah.
We all like pizza.
There's quite a lot of ultra runners who survive on pizzas in races, actually. So, yeah. So I suppose it's quite good. It's got enough carbs on it. Pizza, sod that, raw salad. Is that what we've been living on at home now, is it, Tom? So where were we? I can't remember where we got to.
Yeah, so I suppose a comment around working at home. I think I find this as well. You've sort of got more food around the house and stuff, so you can end up sort of snacking on various things. So yes, it's fine to treat yourself, but probably just be a little bit careful during the day, I think, sometimes. Particularly with Easter and all sorts of things lying around. Yeah.
Well, our chocolates haven't lasted very long, so all of those. Yeah. So they've all gone. A family of 5. So I think, that's a tough call because people are comfort eating a little bit and there's food lying around if you've been able to go buy it, of course. So, and of course, a lot of people are baking because they're, the kids and stuff like that. So there's more of that stuff lying around. But I think, homemade stuff is great. So obviously just don't eat the whole lot in one go. So, and then for recovery food, so you've come in from your run. So before your session, if you've had to go out first thing in the morning, your banana and gels. If you want to get up 2 hours before a 6 a.m. run, then go for it. But most people are going to get up and just walk out the door, aren't they, for an early morning run? So if you've got to do your speed session that time in the morning, shovel down a banana, shovel down, some gels and head out and carry a gel with you in case you start to feel a bit lightheaded. And then obviously just get the carbs in when you get in with a bit of protein mixed in. And then for your recovery food, we're talking about, you can take on any form of protein shake. A lot of people just like normal cow's milk. Obviously, if that upsets your stomach or you're vegan, then just look for a very good protein substitute. We like the Tailwind Rebuild, which is rice protein based because it's better absorbed. Some of the pea protein around doesn't absorb as well. So even though it says on the packet it's got a certain amount of protein in, because it is a vegetable and it's fibrous, you will unfortunately get rid of quite a bit of that protein. So rice protein is probably the better form of vegetarian type protein, if that makes sense. And there's loads of others. Obviously, you've got all of your Regos and everything like that. They're all pretty much the same. They're doing the same job, just, after a speed session particularly, or a long run, I would say, get the fuel in. So let's have a little look. It's meant to be nice. I haven't tried it myself. Nikki says she struggles with a good pizza base that's gluten-free. I hear that cauliflower makes a good base. I've not tried that. You can make pizza dough with gluten-free flour. It's a little bit more lumpy. You can use scone base. My mum used to make a really good scone. Scone.
I think we should have a poll. Is it scone or is it scone?
You can post that below as well if you like. It's definitely scone. Anyway, you can make a kind of gluten-free scone base. My mum used to make a really good scone base as a pizza base, Nikki, so that might be worth a try because the gluten-free scones are quite good.
Yes.
So, anything else we need to talk about food other than favourite foods?
Hydration is obviously important.
Hydration, definitely. Hydration, not just beer.
No.
So long runs, hydration.
Yeah. Ultra runners are obviously very good at taking packs with them with drinks, but that's a really good idea, isn't it? Particularly if you're going kind of an hour and a half more.
Yeah. There's some really good race vests out there at the minute, and some of them are really light. So even marathon runners have trained with packs on. And actually, when you take that race pack off and you get into your race, you actually feel really light. And for long runs, you can probably get away up to about 90 minutes to 2 hours, depending on the type of runner you are and the speed you're running at.
And it's been pretty warm recently, hasn't it? So,
it has been pretty warm. Without any form of fuel, you'll probably just get away with water up to 2 hours. Again, if you are doing that, just make sure you're not going first thing in the morning without anything inside you. And particularly at the moment, I would not advocate going out the door and running for 2 hours without any fuel in you at the moment, because your immune system will just drop too much afterwards. So I would say an hour max without anything in your tummy first thing in the morning. If you're going out for a long run, I would suggest you've got something in you, again, a banana, and then take fuel with you if you've not had a proper breakfast. But then, if you're going out and it's warm, you might need to take some form of electrolytes with you just to help. And obviously taking on fuel during the run also helps with recovery afterwards as well. So if you've actually fueled during the run, you will recover better afterwards as well. So that's something people don't know about actually. They think so if they've not fueled and they come straight in the door, then as long as they've fueled straight away, then they're okay. But actually, if you fuel during the run, then actually your body is in a better place at the end as well. So
there's a couple of good questions or points come through there. So
how much should
you
about
hydration afterwards?
It's gone until it's eaten, then it's
it's
gone. Then it's gone. Brilliant.
So Nikki's question there about hydration after...
Foods to aid sleep and recovery, Mark.
Excuse me.
All right.
You're talking over me.
Ooh, sorry.
So the hydration afterwards. So obviously it depends on whether you've been drinking through it and how hot it is and all that sort of stuff. But probably the easiest thing is the wee test.
Yeah.
So obviously you should be going to the toilet regularly, and your wee should be a nice pale yellow.
Yeah.
If it's kind of that.
So if you're drinking enough on a long run, you probably might need to go actually during your night, go and have a wee behind a bush.
Yeah.
If you've drunk enough, probably. If you haven't drunk enough and you haven't weed for a good hour when you come in from your run, then you certainly haven't drunk enough. So that's a good sign.
Mark's one's good, I think.
Foods to aid sleep and recovery. So recovery we've talked about, so definitely get a form of protein in after tougher sessions. You don't need to do that after easy runs, as long as you eat within a couple of hours. That also then depends on if you're going to train later on in that day, then you probably do need to. But if you are not training until the next day, then you're going to get away with making sure you just eat within a couple of hours. And make sure it's a good meal and not a load of trash. For sleeping, just good food. So avoid high sugar, definitely. So don't go snacking at night and eating a load of sweets and biscuits and stuff like that. Just make sure you've had a good meal, and that obviously you're not hungry, but don't eat a load of dark chocolate before you go to sleep, definitely. Switch to milk chocolate at night.
I think it's quite interesting because we were quite bad at this, or in normal times we're quite bad at this, in that the kids have all these clubs and everything in it. We often don't eat till 9:30 at night.
No.
So you have your main meal at 9:30 at night, and that's not obviously kind of going against guidelines. To be honest, I don't think we ever struggle to sleep because we're so tired. But ideally, you want your meal earlier on, and in fact, during this time, we've been eating as a family at sort of 7:30, which is actually better for sleep. So
but it's not always that easy to do, as we talked about training and stuff like that. So if you are training quite late and you're not eating till 9 p.m, then try and make it a little bit lighter. Maybe try and eat more at lunchtime, because obviously you might have a bigger break. And obviously if you're going to do that, then you're going to need a mid-afternoon snack if you're going to train in the evening as well. So just make sure you've got a high carb snack mid-afternoon, like a bagel and a banana or something like that, or even just an energy bar that'll give you a bit of a boost before your evening session. Otherwise, again, it's quite a big gap between 1 p.m. and 9 p.m. So, and just make sure obviously you've fueled afterwards, so get your protein recovery in, and that will obviously help with your muscles not going into overdrive overnight as well. But to aid sleep, caffeine avoidance is really key. So just don't go having a big cup of coffee before you go to sleep. And saying, don't dark chocolate or caffeinated gels, I suggest not in the evening, unless you're running an ultra when you're not going to sleep. Anyway, so that obviously when you're running through the night in an ultra, you need your caffeine, but none of us are doing that at the moment.
No.
So you can save those questions for later on once we can start racing again. Hi Mark, James is watching, Belinda's watching. What are the signs you've not recovered well enough?
Nikki's giving us all the hard questions tonight.
She is. Gosh.
Working us hard.
And James has put how far is too far to run fasted time distance? Well, we've just talked about that, James, but we will cover that again for you. What are the signs you've not recovered well enough? Quite a high heart rate is quite a good indicator. So if you've not recovered well enough from like a speed session or a long run, and you go out the next day and your heart rate, you can't keep your heart rate down, then that's a good sign that you haven't recovered very well. Restless sleep is generally a good sign that you're not recovered. You tend to be a little bit more restless in your sleep if you're struggling with your recovery. Yeah,
probably, as you say, kind of performance the next day, or it might be cumulative. So
cumulative. Sometimes if you have a cumulative few days, actually you struggle to eat a little bit as well. So that's something to keep in mind as well. If you don't have a big appetite, that might be a sign that you've overtrained as well. So
maybe muscle soreness.
Yeah, muscle soreness. I wouldn't say stiffness, because generally, you will feel a little bit stiff after a hard session, but obviously keep an eye on that. If that stiffness hasn't gone within, 2 or 3 days, then obviously that is a bad sign. Yeah. I mean, obviously we've both been doing quite heavy lifting, and then you will find you get a little bit of DOMS the next day from the heavy lifting. So, but if that soreness again hasn't gone, by the end of the week, then I know I probably lifted too much. And I haven't taken enough care to recover from that lifting session either. So,
maybe mood as well. Sort of.
Mood.
If you're, you're feeling down, you don't really want to train, then maybe you're just not recovering properly. So.
Yeah, be a little bit sweary. Okay, James, how far is to run fasted? So we talked about this. We reckon an hour probably, especially at the moment. I wouldn't go for more than an hour really. And unless, it really depends on how used you are to it. So I've been doing up to 10 miles without anything in, but then I'm quite used to that, and I'm very good at getting the fuel in straight away. So very, very important to get the fuel in immediately afterwards. Time, distance. Distance is dependent on how fast you are. I would say, an hour and a half, very max, unfueled. but really focus on the fuel afterwards. Okay.
The guidance kind of changed, doesn't it? Or is changing in terms of whether fasted is good at all anyway.
Yeah.
So I think the important thing is if you want to do fat adaptation, you need to keep the pace right.
Yeah.
So keep in the right zone.
Keeping in the right zone. I think if you're wanting to do it for fat adaptation, you need to just run really easy. I think that's the key thing. Don't be tempted to keep your average pace nice and high because everyone's going to sit on Strava. Actually go the other way and run slow for the sake of it.
Yeah. Don't be a Strava slave.
Don't be a Strava slave and don't chase those segments if you're trying to do an easy run. I think that's the key thing. So yeah, I think that's key. Yeah. Anything else? The question was around Anne. I'm not sure what that means, Mark. Listening, watching. Hello. Nice beard, Dr. Maxwell.
Oh, I wondered if anyone was going to pick up on that.
I don't like it, actually. So there we are. I want him to go in the attic and get his razor out. Do you have those crazy hungry days where you can't eat enough? Yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
And that actually is a good sign as well. Utilise those days. Usually it's because it's an easy day. So your body's catching up. What was I going to say?
I don't know.
Yeah, your body is catching up. Sorry, I was reading text then. Your body's catching up from the week's training. So if you do an easier day and you're not having to train, your hunger will catch up. And that, yeah, go with it. But, don't pig out on donuts and stuff like that. Try and eat quite healthily. But then, to get the calories in if you're still hungry, then, eat some cake and stuff like that. That's the perfect day to do it.
Definitely.
Definitely. So don't be afraid of hungry days. Definitely.
It's your body telling you.
Yeah. Would you recommend a wellness app here, Marcus put? So, yeah, I did a study on a wellness app for a conference how many years ago? It was called HRV4, wasn't it? So, yeah, there's a load of wellness apps out there. One's called HRV4. There's quite a few of them. There's ones that you can track your menstrual cycle. That's really good, that sort of thing. But the wellness app I worked on was called HRV4, and it measured your heart rate in the morning, and it took in a load of other indicators like your sleep and
heart rate variability, isn't it?
Heart rate variability, that's right. And it took your resting heart rate combined with your sleep and your training load, and it gave you a score, and it told you whether you should train that day. And yeah, it was quite good, wasn't it? But sometimes there was a little bit of variability there. Sometimes it didn't track the data that well. But yeah, if you are worried about it, it's something you can think about. I think it was an £8 app.
Yeah, it's an app and you can use the camera on your phone. I don't know how accurate it is. I gave up with it in the end. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, you can get obsessed with it. I think it's better to just be very mindful of yourself. I think don't just blindly follow a training plan because of it. Always question a training plan. I think that's the most important thing, and back off if you're not feeling like you're on it.
I think that's right. I think that app actually asks you, how do you feel today? How up are you for running or the session? And I think that's actually more important than anything. If you're really just flat and you don't want to do anything, then and I think that's a great.
And James has put he recommends an app called Unmind. We'll have a look at that one, James. That sounds quite interesting. Thoughts on calorie counting? I know Sam's trying to lose quite a lot of weight for his little Ironman challenge. Huge Ironman challenge. So it's an interesting question, Sam, because it's making sure you're getting in enough calories for the training you're doing. And I think with someone like yourself, it's just making sure we've talked about easy days and hard days, just making sure on your hard days that you are getting in enough so that you can actually achieve the session and you can train properly and you recover properly. So making sure you get in the right recovery food so that you don't obviously feel hungry later. And I think that's the key thing, is just timing. So you can have
food types like protein and stuff.
Food types. So you can have obviously less food on your easy days and more food on your tougher days. Or if you're going to be doing a really long ride, then you need to make sure obviously that you eat a decent dinner and stuff like that, and you get in enough carbs for the training the next day. So it's a little bit of jiggery pokery and just trying to make sure, a little bit of balance. I think that's the way around it, Sam. is now a good time to start a heavier lifting program? What sort of program to start with? Laura's asked for. I wouldn't go in for heavy lifting at the minute. I think more maintenance, to be honest, at the minute. Mainly because most people can't get to a gym. So if you've got the weights at home and you've got a squat rack and a barbell and everything like that, then I would just go in for maintenance at the moment. There's not a huge amount of point in making gains at the moment because we don't know how long this is going on for. But I would say heavy lifting is still good, particularly for us older athletes, for bone maintenance and just muscle and muscle maintenance, I think, is the key thing. But I don't think beginning a heavy lifting program is probably a good thing at the moment.
Particularly if you're worried about technique.
Definitely.
If you're beginning it, then maybe you need someone looking over you and just making sure you're doing it the right way. Otherwise you will injure yourself.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm an example of that where I try to do some deadlifting and increase the weights, and I think I'm doing it quite right and started hurting my back. So
I've been coaching him through a deadlift.
Yeah. So you can't beat having a resident coach.
No. So we'll be doing deadlift coaching. So I mean, that's something that you can do. You can do, at the minute, the best way is just to do lots of videos. So if you've got a coach who's helping you, then ping lots of videos to that coach at the minute. And so just make sure your technique is right. So, I think that's the best thing. Have you seen any benefit in HRV score for fatigue management? Again.
So I used HRV, the HRV app. I think it was the 4 app for some time. And as I say, I think I wasn't sure about it. And it might be because of the accuracy of the kind of camera on the phone.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it showed a high score, when you were doing a race or something. So it was almost saying, don't do the race, but then it's because you've got your adrenaline going and everything, so it's obvious. And as I say, I think the questions it asked around your mood were more important than whatever score came out of it.
Yeah, and there's plenty of apps out there. I mean, Garmin's got its own metrics app for mood and overall feeling and sleep and soreness and that sort of stuff that you can fill in anyway. And those athletes we coach, that data comes into Training Peaks, doesn't it, if they filled it in, which is really helpful, I find, because it flags up to us in red if that person's not slept very well or stuff like that. And obviously in Training Peaks we have the fatigue score anyway, which I find really helpful. So if someone's done a long ride or a long bike, then we can just check and we can flag it up to them if we think they've not recovered. So if the fatigue line has come down and it's looking like they're not recovered, then obviously we can change the training plan a little bit and chat to the athlete, I think.
So the science behind HRV is, so there's variability in if you got an ECG, and there's variability between the peaks, if you like. So there's sound science behind it that if you're stressed, overtrained, actually the variability reduces. So that's what it's measuring. But how accurate these kind of apps, phone apps are, I'm not 100% convinced.
I think you can also, it's one of these things you can get obsessed about as well. So it's a fine balance between, knowing when it's safe to train and then being a little bit of an obsession, isn't there?
Yeah.
So anyway, I hope that helps, John. I like it, the beard, that is.
Good.
You've already answered my question before getting to it. I've just encouraged Kevin out for a run. He didn't feel... Yeah, so that's a great thing, Nicola. I think encouraging partners and friends through texts and stuff to get out and train, I think that's really good. Good thing to do, actually. I bet he feels better for it. Any questions? When your watch tells you that activity requires 50 hours, bloody ignore it.
Yeah, the good old watch that says,
I know.
You do a 10-minute run and it says 24 hours recovery.
Yeah. I think you've got to take it with a pinch of salt, and it's a bit like the race predictions where it tells me I can run a 2:41 marathon.
Yes.
Yeah, I think those days are long over. Take it with a pinch of salt. It's a bit like the productive and unproductive status on Garmin.
That drives you mad, doesn't it?
It does drive me mad. I try not to look at it, but
You come in and go, I'm unproductive again.
Yeah, if you forget to put your chest heart rate monitor on, that flicks it straight into unproductive. So a little bit of pinch and salt. I think if you need 50 hours recovery. I think if
you've just done an Ironman and it says 50 hours, then it might be about right.
Yeah, and if you've done a mega brick session of 6 hours and a 1 hour, 2 hour run, then I would say you probably do need a very easy day. But yeah, so take it with a pinch of salt. I would suggest, Anna. Any other questions? That's what I said to him.
It's Paul King's watching.
That's what I also watched. Base VO2 score. Yeah, ignore that too. There is some crap data. Yeah, there is, Anna. But I mean, I think it's all a balance, and I think it's watching the changes rather than, it's a bit like weighing yourself every day, isn't it? I think it's seeing any massive changes that's really important.
Well, it's like TSS score on Training Peaks, it is a guide, it's not absolute.
No.
I think, no.
And we've seen in TSS actually, we give someone a week off after running an ultra, it drops like a cliff. Mm-hmm. But there's no way they could actually go out and even run.
Yeah.
So yeah. Hi Paul. I think we're nearly up, aren't we, time wise? So unless anyone's got any other burning questions, I think we will wrap it up. Oh, we've got another one. What physical prep and drill would you encourage at this time for ultra running? It depends for ultra running, and it depends on whether you've got any sort of technical trail anywhere near. If the ultra you're training for, it requires technical trail. If that's in the autumn, because most races have moved to the autumn, you're going to have to do your best with the trails that you've got near you. You can put some little hurdles in your back garden and do little, almost like hot coals is the best thing. If you've got any little woodlands near you, then you can do little drills over, the routes and stuff like that. For ultra runners, that's probably a drill that's really important, is the whole technical trail issue. Other than that, just all the basics really. I mean, I've just been saying to all my athletes, do your drills, even if you have to do them in your back garden. All of your high knees and everything like that help with your cadence and your fluidity. I think, why not do them now? I think it's really important. At the minute, you can focus on everything that you don't normally have time to do, I think, most importantly. What did you say? Anything else?
What are those ultra runners?
Physical prep. Just what you can do when you've got what you've got at home. I think your squats, your lunges, all that heavy stuff. You can do your split squats for your downhill running. So if you're struggling with getting to obviously your big hills and you've got an ultra and you're worried about it, hopefully at some point we can all get to the bigger hills, then obviously things like weighting, things like split squats and lunges are going to be really good because you're putting all the load onto your quads, anything like that really for your ultra runners. I think that's the best thing you can do, really.
Yeah, fairly similar to normal runners.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's really important for your descending. I think that's the key thing, is the descending. Calf raises, as we go on and on about calf raises, you can't do enough of them. Hi folks. Hi Nick. Damn, I was late. It's all right. You can watch it later, Nick. I think that's it. Unless there's any burning questions, we will wrap it up and we will try and do another one next week.
Indeed.
If there's any subjects you want us to do, obviously, just ping comments in the video afterwards, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Have a good week, everybody.
Have a great week, and obviously here for you all. So if you've got any other questions, just text us. All right, speak to you soon.
Bye.